Yeah, this is Gerrit Schneemann with Counterpoint here in sunny San Jose, at the Samsung Unpacked event where Samsung just announced the latest Galaxy S25 series of devices. I'm here with Brad, and he's a key leader on the B2B team in the US and in the Americas. And we're just going to have a quick chat on today's event and what it all means.
Sure.
So thanks for joining me again, Brad. Maybe start off with just from your perspective, what was kind of the most important announcement today at Unpacked? There was a lot going on, obviously, new devices, but beyond devices as well.
Well, I think, what you've seen, Samsung has always prided ourselves on being an innovative device company, but you saw the narrative really start to change last year when we launched the S24 series family, because it was Galaxy AI. And it's really about expanding upon what we've learned from consumers, right? Both, actual consumers and also from our business partners, which are in turn consumers in their own right, but they have different things. But it's really around, how do you take AI to the next level? We know that we were the first mover advantage in the market with Galaxy AI. And so what we saw a lot today was, while there are improvements at the device level from the cameras and the battery life, new Snapdragon processor on 3 nanometer. We saw innovative technologies on things like moving heat dissipation out of the product that increases battery life. So we learned a lot about that. Really today was about the evolution of AI, being more secure, being more personal, working across applications, and really having that native One UI 7 that we talked about, that we worked with Google on. And that's really making it truly native. So that's the way I describe it, as a native mobile AI experience. And then how do you make it more personal? How do you add in more elements of security? How do you add in more elements of data privacy? So I feel like that's really what we saw today, is the device evolution continues with how the device itself gets better and has more capabilities, but it's really about the evolution of the experience with AI.
Yeah, that's going to be actually my next question. We're kind of in year 2 of this Galaxy AI transformation or evolution and revolution in a way, in a way that AI impacts not the end user but also B2B and all the other segments in between. So you just pointed at some of the that evolution, and what do you think the key is then for year 2 for Galaxy AI and for Samsung to drive that further? You pointed to privacy. Can you just expand on that? What this launch then means for the rest of the year, and how you want to see kind of the progress that you're kind of laying out now?
Yeah, well, first of all, in the concept of businesses, I mean, for our, as you know, our organization is focused on selling businesses from SMBs all the way to large enterprise. And I think what we've done is, in the last year, when you think about everything I just said in my previous answer, we've learned a lot. So for instance, when we first launched Galaxy AI, and you and I discussed this last year, we saw a lot of questions around, okay, what's on device? What's going on the cloud? How do I have the controls for, creating policies to ensure that I'm within compliance in my organization? We've seen a lot of the use cases actually get really deployed out there. So for instance, I was at NRF last week, and we were on stage with a large retailer, and the CTO and I were on stage, and they selected the Galaxy Fold 6 for all the store managers to have. And what we saw from that was sort of this device consolidation of a phone and a tablet, but also using some of the AI features and using Knox to get the security benefits. And they have seen using Live Translate, et cetera. So really it's been, again, learning a lot throughout 2024. And then as we're creating new capabilities here. So for instance, one of the things we quickly did when we launched the S24 last year to the Flip and Fold 6, in between, we created the capability for you to go into the settings of the device and do on-device AI only. Then we worked with the R&D team and Suwon to create a Knox services plugin so that you can take an MDM, write script, and create policy to do that in enterprise environment. So a lot of customers said, thank you, that's the kind of control we need. But we're further evolutionizing it this year. So for instance, now instead of it just being a binary, you can set policy to have it be on device only versus some of the cloud enhanced or cloud only use cases. Now we're creating through the Knox services plugin the ability for them to actually look at all the various different functions and highlight which ones they want to keep on and which ones they want to turn off in their environment. So it's again more and really working around businesses and what they need to really deploy these devices and then manage them securely in the environment.
Yeah. That's great. I think that leads right into my next question. And you pointed out the C Fold 6 from last year as kind of, when we talked then as kind of the focal point from the hardware side and trying to, maybe have, fleets or a group within an enterprise replace more than one device and have that all combined. Now for the S25 series, where do you see that focus there in terms of the devices and the place that each of those can take in an enterprise setting, in an enterprise deployment? Do you see, is the focus on the Ultra or more on the Plus and the base version? How do you see those from a hardware perspective to, for your organization to try to engage with some of the clients that you already have and trying to enable some of those AI use cases? But how do you see that mix of, a Fold 6 is a fairly expensive device versus maybe an entry level device like the S25 or entry level flagship device as a more broad fleet deployment option? How do you see that shaking out this year, and what do you see the demand coming from?
Well, I think one of the things that when we talk to customers and we ask them, one of the things they appreciate about Samsung is our breadth of the portfolio. No one has the breadth of the portfolio that we have. So when we go to customers, as you pointed out, we have A-series phones, which are entry level. We have S-series, flagship, the traditional candy bar style. We have foldable technologies, tablets, etc. What we've learned is that it's no one size fits all approach. By having that breadth of the portfolio, then the customer can really dial in what they're trying to do with it. So one of the trade-offs we know with a Fold versus say the S25 is, the foldable technology, you're limited on real estate there. So, you're not going to have as nice of a camera. You're not typically going to have the same kind of battery life that you can fit into that, but you can do some very unique and cool things with the foldable technologies and the applications. And I already talked about how there's now device consolidation. But with the S25, what I see is, in one particular use case, it really depends, because some customers say to us, hey, I have a price sensitivity here, so I can't afford to pay for this device. Although we do a lot of work with our carrier partners, and sometimes with big deals, we work with the carriers on getting to the right price required for that particular enterprise. But we're seeing, it's like almost like we're AI in ourselves. Like it's a machine learning model. We're learning more and more about how these devices and capabilities are being used, and they're changing. So one example is we have a particular customer now who uses the X-Cover Pro, the X-Cover 6, which is our ruggedized premium, very nice. That has a removable battery pack. It's rugged, so there's a lot of right. But there's trade-offs with that. So for instance, the performance capabilities in a new flagship product. That, some customers might say, look, I'm using this device, for scanning. So we do a lot of work with ScanDit. So we've been disrupting the industry by saying, hey, you don't need to have, physical expensive laser scanners. You can actually do multi-label scanning with ScanDit software and using the camera. Now we can do that through our own capability called Knox Capture, which is something we have built into the Knox suite, but also with a partner like ScanDit. Well, what we've learned is that the scanning utilities, as a company like ScanDit continues to build out their capabilities on inferencing and trying to capture more data. So think about it. If you're scanning barcodes, if you're scanning one, that takes so much, use of the APU. If you're scanning multiple, that takes more. If you're scanning multiple and you're moving, now you're talking about really taxing the product itself. So when you take like an S25 Ultra, and you think this has got best-in-class performance and really good battery life. Now it is more expensive than, an X-Cover device or an A-series, but I think what it does, it gives that optionality to customers. So we're seeing a lot of customers who really want to say, I need best-in-class capabilities for the particular use case I'm doing in my environment. And then, of course, there's also BYOD, because remember, the other part of it is, whether consumers are bringing their device to work or we're working with enterprises on a corporate liable, we want to make sure that they have the choice. Because even though on a business use case, you might not care about the really expensive, nice cameras, et cetera. However, but for people who want to have an environment, I mean, one of the things, we do with Knox is we can create a personalized container and then the work container where the work applications are housed. But a lot of folks take these devices home and it's their personal device.
Yeah.
And in that case, then they go, I want the best in class pictures, cameras, videos. And we showed off a whole host of new capabilities that we have today with wide angle lenses, the ability to do edits and, and a deeper integration with the AI capabilities. So really it's not about that S25 or the S series family is targeted at somebody specific. It's that our breadth really lets the customer decide what they need.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I think it just gives so many options on a common platform or common foundation to really pick and choose and decide and develop their own personalized, in a way, solution, or organizational solution that doesn't necessarily need to be the same for everybody else. So I think that's one of the key parts. Going off of that, I think we talked about this a little bit yesterday. Does that lead to more demand for an organization like yours or Samsung in general to enable more tools or enable more access to enterprise and SMB clients to tie closer into the hardware and into all the various Galaxy AI and Knox and whatnot? So are you being pushed to be more of a developer partner going forward?
Yes, absolutely. So we've had I talked earlier about the evolution of even our Knox capabilities with the Knox services plugin, and how even in only 12 short months from when we launched S24 to now, we've already answered 3 or 4 big hanging questions from customers and quickly been able to develop that. One of the new questions coming up from customers, and we're working on it, is how can I have APIs or even software development kits? I mean, we have SDKs, et cetera, but I think the next evolution is how can I take an enterprise application and have an API for that to work more native with, say, Galaxy AI platform level. So yes, we want to. And then today we talked about that at Impact. We talked about, they were talking more from the consumer side, but what they're trying to do with the Google partnership. I mean, remember, one of the things we pride ourselves on with the entire Android ecosystem is it's open. And it's open for developers, right? It's not a vertically integrated approach. It's not locked out. It's not a walled garden. So it's very important for Google and Samsung to work together to have that developer ecosystem become more native to take advantage of the capabilities in Galaxy AI. And I think you'll see more of that evolution coming forward.
Yeah, for me also the this focus on Agentic AI and kind of that as the next evolution. I think that will be really interesting to see for kind of the B2B space as well, to see how this experience can be replicated and integrated into some of the fields that are more regulated or with more sensitive information. But I think there's going to be demand for a worker to be able to have a conversation with the phone and be able to get relevant answers coming back. But it'll be interesting to see how enterprise embrace kind of this access to information and the hosting of that information and in the platform somewhere, and see. That'll be interesting to me to see how Samsung will be able to accommodate that and work with that, because I think that'll unlock a whole other set of capabilities and opportunities for everybody involved once kind of this same interface permeates throughout kind of the overall user experience, not just from the consumer side, but also from B2B.
Well, we talked about, I mean, what we're seeing is for businesses, there's a lot of interest. Again, as long as they can address their security and compliance requirements, there's a lot of interest on my employee satisfaction is tied to productivity. So we know that it's if you want to, especially for someone like me, who a majority of my organization is customer facing, that means I want them not spending a lot of time on email or doing manual things, attending meetings, writing down notes. And so when you think about it, even something like, Note Assist and the ability to record meetings, when we first launched Galaxy AI, we said, oh, you can record the meeting and then you can summarize it and create a transcript. But today, what we talked about is with this cross-app functionality capabilities that we have now, we're now making it much more intelligent. And so if you're, especially in like an SMB, now you can say, okay, I want to go to this meeting at 12 o'clock. I want you to record the meeting. I want you to summarize it. And I want you to email it out to all the employees. That's a multi-step function where you're having several applications. And that's that personalized AI experience we're talking about. And I think you're going to see a lot of businesses be attracted to that because their employees are going to be asking for it. And that's why it's super important. So on the front foot and very proactive on what we're doing on the security and compliance side, so they feel comfortable in the ability to launch it.
Yeah. So lastly, I guess then, that leaves me with, over the last year, do you think consumers or, users in general understand better what AI can do for, Galaxy AI can do for them, what, Gen AI can do for them? Have we made progress in kind of that learning curve, to get people across? I know you guys shared a few stats on Circle Search, for example, but do you think that's on the right path, that there is, the awareness on one side, maybe from like an IT leadership perspective to, oh, we should be doing this because it will increase productivity. And there's some highlight, use case or examples that people are using, but has it permeated from your perspective that people are saying, yes, this is really something I'm going to use more than once all the time, and it's really kind of changing how I interact with my devices?
So I think the short answer is yes, but it's a nuanced question. So the first thing is, there's some interesting statistics. We launched a survey, I think, in the middle of last year, and we saw that, about 16% of users using mobile devices were using AI functionality and capabilities on the device. By the end of that has moved from 16% to 27%. So it's almost double. And then we also asked follow-up questions. Some people responded, said, I think I believe I get 1.5x the productivity. I'm getting 2x the creativity. But again, AI is a challenging subject for human beings because, one, we've all watched the movies as kids and, where does this go? Where is it going? How does it impact me as an individual? How does it impact my business or society? And privacy is at the center of that. So I think another thing, we talked about today, the personal data and that capability to know that you have the peace of mind of the Knox Bolt, hardware security, and the fact that they know their biometrics, their passwords. But more importantly, we have made it very clear through today's announcement that any and all things that you're saying to the AI are not going to be released into the cloud. Your public, it's not going to be for training purposes. It's simply going to take your data and really personalize the experience, but let you know, because that, that it's secure and that it's private. Because I think that is the hesitancy. When I talk to most people, the hesitancy to go all in on AI is, well, what about my personal data? What about my privacy? Is it going to target me for ads? Is it going to do this? Is it going to do that? So I think everyone sees it, and the statistics show that people are becoming more comfortable, which is why this is an evolution, which is why today was so important for us to say, hey, here's what we've heard, and here are all the improvements we're making so that we can get more people. Obviously, in a few years, you want it to be that you're not using a mobile device unless you're using AI. That's what I mean about native, making it a truly native experience where those questions and concerns go away. And again, for businesses, it's really about, what does it do for my business? Is that increasing my output? Again, productivity of employees, can I increase sales? And there's all kinds of metrics that we're going to see come, to bear over the next few years as we're on the journey.
Perfect. Awesome. That's all I got.